All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm excited for today's deep dive.
Yeah, me too.
We're going to be talking about something that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds,
Yeah.
especially our listeners.
Yeah.
You know, given that we talk about crypto a lot,
Right.
with Donald Trump's inauguration,
Yeah.
it's got a lot of people wondering, like,
Yeah.
what's that going to mean?
What's that going to mean for crypto?
Right, exactly. And,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the headlines are, either kind of doom and gloom or
Yeah. Or they're like super,
super bullish.
yeah, crazy bullish.
To the moon kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we wanted to go a little bit deeper today, and we've got some really good source material
Yeah.
from the Future Wealth podcast.
Yeah, they had some great analysts on.
They did, and they had some really, interesting kind of nuanced takes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna sort of dig into those predictions and opinions.
Yeah.
And see, if we can
See if we can figure out
glean any insight into,
what might happen.
what might happen, because
Yeah.
it's a really interesting time.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump is such
Yeah, he's such a wild card.
wild card, right?
Yeah.
And so trying to predict what his policies are going to do to any market,
Right.
let alone crypto,
Especially crypto.
is a fool's errand.
Yeah.
But we're going to try anyway.
We're going to give it a shot.
So one of the things that the podcast talked about that I thought was really interesting was Trump's history
Right. His history with
economic policy.
with economic policies, right? And how that might
translate to crypto. And,
exactly.
and we all remember,
tax cuts,
the tax cuts,
deregulation.
deregulation,
Yeah.
huge, kind of like
Yeah.
emphasis on
Economic growth.
economic growth.
Right, at all costs, almost.
Right. And so they were talking about on the podcast specifically about, the possibility of him rolling back some of the Dodd-Frank regulations,
Right.
which,
Could have
could have a huge impact
on all kinds of financial markets,
all kinds of financial markets, but particularly
but especially crypto.
crypto. Right. Because
the idea is that if there's less regulation, then it's easier for
these big institutions
institutions
to come in and be like, okay, well, now we can.
Now it's not so risky.
Right now it's not so scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's not as much red tape.
There's not as much red tape.
We can dip our toes in.
Right. We can get in and start,
making some money.
Right? And so that
and they made a good point on the podcast too, like that, even if Trump himself doesn't come out and say like, I love Bitcoin.
Right.
I'm a huge crypto guy.
Right.
Even if he doesn't say anything about crypto. The fact that
his policies.
Yeah, his policies could just inadvertently
create this environment.
That's just more conducive to
crypto flourishing.
Right?
Yeah.
And they brought up a really good point, I thought, which was that institutional interest is kind of
this big thing
driving the market right now.
Yeah, that's what's really moving the needle.
Right. And they're saying, look at
what Fidelity's doing. Offering Bitcoin and 401ks.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy.
It's huge.
BlackRock partnering with Coinbase.
Right.
These are not,
the small potatoes.
Yeah, these are not your
fly by night.
Yeah.
Little companies.
The big dogs.
These are the big institutions.
Exactly.
And so when they start to move in, that's when things start to get
serious.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, if they're willing to put their money where their mouth is.
Money where their mouth is, then.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be paying attention.
Right. Maybe there's something to this.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a really interesting.
I think that's a key takeaway.
Yeah, for sure.
In the podcast.
And and then you talked about, it's not just Bitcoin anymore.
Right.
I mean, Bitcoin's obviously the
big one,
800-pound gorilla.
Right.
But you got DeFi.
Yeah. DeFi's blowing up.
Which is, decentralized finance for people who are not familiar.
Yeah. And that's all these applications that are built on the blockchain.
Right. And it's basically like
they're trying to revolutionize.
Yeah. Cut out the middleman.
Yeah. Cut out the banks.
On all kinds of financial services,
right? Like lending, borrowing, insurance, all this stuff.
You name it. They're doing it on the blockchain.
And so you can imagine, in a deregulated environment.
That could be
huge for DeFi.
Huge for DeFi.
Yeah. Because then,
the reins are off.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And these companies can really
innovate. Yeah.
And kind of go crazy.
And they don't have to worry about
all the red tape.
The SEC coming after them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But what's so interesting is that while Trump's policies might sort of indirectly be
good for crypto.
Good for crypto. His actual stance on crypto has been
well,
we all remember the tweet.
Yeah, the infamous tweet
where he called Bitcoin
a scam.
Yeah. And
back in 2019.
Right? And so it's like is he
right. So is he really
a crypto skeptic?
A crypto hater?
Or has his stance evolved?
Has he changed his tune?
Right.
Right. And the podcast.
And the podcast actually brought up a good point, which is that his administration's actions were actually more nuancst.
Right. They weren't
just that one tweet.
Yeah. It wasn't just like,
black and white.
Yeah. Well, they were actually exploring blockchain technology.
For government use.
Right. They were even considering.
Yeah. They were thinking about launching a digital dollar.
Like a U.S. backed.
Yeah. A central bank digital currency.
Right. A CBDC.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
what are they?
It's confusing.
What are they really going to do?
Right. And that's what makes it so hard to predict.
Right. Because it's like 1 minute they're saying crypto is a scam. And the next minute they're like, we need to be involved in this.
Right. We need to be.
This is the future.
On the cutting edge.
Yeah.
Right. And so that uncertainty is something I think that
every crypto investor
needs to be aware of.
Needs to keep in mind.
Right.
Because you just don't know.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Which way the wind's going to blow.
Right.
And then another thing that they talked about on the podcast that I thought was really interesting was
CBDCs.
CBDCs, right?
Trump's not a fan.
Central bank digital currencies.
Yeah.
Trump has said he's not a fan.
He's not a fan.
Right. He's skeptical.
Very skeptical.
And the analysts on the podcast were saying that, that skepticism could actually inadvertently create a lot of space.
So create a boom
for privately issued
stablecoins.
Stablecoins, right?
Yeah.
And so for people who don't know, stablecoins are basically
the cryptocurrencies that are designed to
maintain a stable value.
Yeah, maintain a stable value. Right. So they're usually pegged to
the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, the U.S. dollar or
some other
asset that's relatively stable.
So gold or something like that.
Yeah, or a basket of currencies or something.
Right. And so the idea is that
they could become more appealing if the government isn't pushing its own.
If the government's not going to do a CBDC
digital currency,
then private companies are going to fill that void.
Right. And stablecoins could be a way to kind of
make crypto
more user friendly.
User friendly, right?
For the average person.
Because a lot of people are intimidated.
But because the volatility of Bitcoin is scary to a lot of people.
Right. They're like, I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to put my life savings into something that could.
Right. Go up or down.
Crash 50% tomorrow.
50% overnight, right?
Yeah.
And so stable coins are kind of a way to
ease people in.
Yeah, dip your toes in.
Yeah.
Without having to worry so much about
losing your shirt.
Losing all your money. Right.
So
we've got this really interesting situation where we've got, deregulation.
Right.
Potentially bringing in all this
institutional money.
But then we've got Trump's,
kind of unknown stance
on crypto.
Yeah.
And then we've got
the rise of stablecoins.
Yeah. It's
a lot.
It's a lot to think about.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
So
what do we do? How do we navigate this
as investors?
This crazy landscape.
Right, because I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this and they're like,
yeah, what do I do with my money?
What do I do with my money, right?
Yeah.
What should I do?
So
And I think the analysts on the podcast had some really good advice.
Yeah, they had some really good takeaways.
Yeah.
I think the first one is just
stay informed.
Right. Because things are changing so quickly.
Right.
In this space.
Especially in the regulatory.
Especially with regulation.
Yeah, environment.
Yeah.
One day it's this, the next day it's that.
Right, exactly. So you gotta
stay on top of it.
Read,
Read the news.
Listen to podcasts.
Listen to podcasts like this one. Yeah.
And then the second thing I think they said was
diversify
your portfolio.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
They're like, don't just buy Bitcoin. Explore
other things.
Ethereum. affluent calls, even real-world assets.
Real-world assets.
Which is something I think a lot of people...
Yeah, that's a newer concept.
...don't even know about.
For a lot of people.
Right.
But basically, that's like...
It's like taking
a real-world asset.
A physical asset.
Like a piece of real estate.
Right. A piece of real estate.
Or a piece of art. Or,
a car.
Yeah.
A car.
Whatever.
And tokenizing it on the blockchain.
Tokenizing it on the blockchain.
So you can basically...
own a piece
own a fraction of
that asset.
Yeah. Of a building.
Without having to
buy the whole thing.
Buy the whole thing yourself.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think that's going to be
I think that's going to be a big trend.
Big trend.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I think they said was...
Remember, it's a long game.
Yeah.
This is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Right. This is not about...
this is not about...
Day trading.
Day trading and trying to
time the market.
Time the market.
Right.
You got to
be in it.
You got to be in it for the long haul.
For the long haul.
You got to
focus on the...
Focus on the technology.
And the potential.
Long
term.
Don't get caught up in the...
In the day-to-day.
Yeah. The price fluctuations.
Right. Because that's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll be
a nervous wreck.
Yeah. You'll be checking your portfolio every 5 seconds.
Right.
And that's not healthy.
Not healthy. Yeah. So I think those are all really good points.
Yeah. I think those are all really good takeaways.
And so, after listening to this deep dive.
Yeah.
And to the Future of Wealth podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's clear that,
Trump's inauguration is it throws a wrench.
It throws a wrench.
Yeah.
In the whole crypto...
In the prediction machine.
Prediction machine, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows what's going to happen.
What's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think the point is that...
It's potential for growth.
For both good and bad.
For good and for bad.
Yeah. Right? It could go either way.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
So... it's really going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
To see how it all unfolds.
Right. And I think one question that I'm left with, and that I think is worth pondering is, could Trump's focus on economic growth,
right,
even if it's unintentional,
end
up being the thing that actually,
propels,
benefits crypto
in the long run
into the mainstream?
Yeah. It's possible.
It's possible, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Because if the economy's booming...
Yeah, if everybody's making money...
And everybody's making money.
Yeah.
And they're looking for...
And they're looking for places to put their money.
Places to put their money.
Yeah.
Crypto could be...
Crypto could be
a good option.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's a really...
It's definitely something to watch.
Something to watch.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
So as always, stay curious.
Stay curious.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring.
And keep on diving deep.
Keep on diving deep.
See you next time.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.